Hi, I'm Ems, like Deck and Wings, and in this video I'll be transforming some Monster Energy cans, which are empty, into Warhammer and other tabletop terrain. Or you can use whatever other soda pop cans or cans that you want to for this. And if you're particularly concerned about your health, like these people are on the post I made on Instagram about the monster can I made, you can always use a healthy substitute like Liquid Death. And if you do live in the UK, these cans are super cheap at the moment in farm foods and in home bargains because nobody wants to spend a lot of money on water in a can. So we can go down the route of 3D printing with this. There are a lot of files out there and I'll talk about those in a moment, but if you don't have access to a 3D printer, you can use recycled materials to add to the cans. So this is the first can I turned into terrain with some 3D printed parts. I was really happy with how this came out, and I posted this to my Instagram and it did really well. Ironically, it did get quite a few hate comments for some bizarre reason, but mostly people were positive, and that's what inspired me to make this video. So yeah, the files I used are from a guy called 7 United over on Thingiverse. I'll put the link in the description below where you can get these files. These are all free. Obviously, he has used smaller 330ml cans, but they still work for Monster as it's the same width. The Monster Energy logo is also 3D printed. This is from Thingiverse, a free file. There's quite a few different designs, and it's called a Monster Energy Can Savers lid. So these are supposed to keep your monster cans fresh, but obviously it looks quite cool on the terrain. The second piece of terrain I made out of a monster can was this anti-aircraft turret. This is a free file from Custom Miniature Makers, and I'll put that in the link in the description below. This is really cool, has like a Grimdark 40k vibe to it. And I love you can move the turret around as well. Pew pew. And there are a lot of different file designs out there. If you just type in soda can terrain in Thingiverse, My Mini Factory, 3D Cults, wherever you get your files from, you'll find them, and quite a few of them are free. Now let's talk about it if you don't have a 3D printer or you just want to use some recycled materials. Let's have a look at some more idiotic comments I got as well. Well, in part this is kind of true because White Dwarfs, rulebooks and codexes used to have articles about making your own terrain. But we are getting a new generation of hobbyists who don't know about these things, and obviously Games Workshop has pushed a lot more and other companies for these pre-made terrain kits. Don't get me wrong, I love pre-made terrain kits and the details of them in 3D printing, but there's something to be able to make your own terrain. And obviously it's a lot cheaper and you get the satisfaction of making something yourself. So here I have another monster can, and I'm going to show you the parts which I used to make this into more like terrain. So I have a plastic cup here, and there are a lot of textures and details on it, which I think would be great to glue onto the monster can. As well as this coffee cup, as you can see it has this corrugated texture to it. You could just use ordinary corrugated card if you wanted to. So anything that has texture on it, or like details and things which are trash anyway, you can upcycle and make those into terrain. Just experiment with it and it'll all look pretty cool once it's all painted up and primed. And as this next hate comment troll would like to point out, I'm just gluing stuff to a monster can. Yeah, that's literally what I'm doing. That's how we're making terrain. Like I said, I feel like the art of terrain making is kind of lost a bit. And it was literally a work in progress picture, but anyway, I just wanted to point this out. This is something I've come across before, and with tabletop games and art, you're only limited by your imagination. So yeah, I'm going to be gluing some things to some other things and calling it terrain. So as you can see, the bottom of these coffee cups, they can fit on the top of the cans. So this is what I came up with. I also added some factory set control panels from Green Stuff World. These are used with a flexible mold and use powdered resin, which isn't 3D printing resin, so that's another option if you don't have a printer. You could also use these like pipe molds as well. They have a bunch of other different ones you could use and add them to your cans. And even though Green Stuff World are ethically questionable sometimes, they do make some cool stuff, or you can just look for some alternative brands if you want to. You could also just glue on some leftover Warhammer bits from sprues, some leftover parts you haven't used. You're only really limited by your imagination of what you can add to these cans. So here is the homemade one painted up. I used pewter and copper from Darkstar Molten Metals to base these in, one of my favourite brands of metallics out there. I'll then use Moonhopper Games Hurdy Verdigris. This is a technical weathering paint. And I sponged this all over. This has like grit in it, and you can water it down so it's more like a wash. I then used chocolate chip from AK Interactive. This is a dark brown, so again, we're going with rust. I love painting rust. This was once again sponged on, just buy these cheap sponges, makeup ones. I then added a wash with Brown Blight from Moonhopper Games. I really like the lids on these washes so they don't go everywhere, you just clip the top off. So I washed that all over the copper parts, and jumping ahead here, so I grabbed a jade green from scale 75. These are going on the computer screens. I then used one of my favourite paints. This is Tesseract Glow from Citadel. It's a technical paint, and I've added it here, and it has a glowing effect. And this is the Can-Terrain painted up, the homemade one. I think this looks quite good, and it'd be great for tabletop gaming, or like as a diorama or backdrop, and it was cheap and easy to make, so I hope this is giving you some inspiration. And this is the one with the 3D printed parts painted up. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to enjoy your hobbies for yourself, and at the end of the day, they're just war dollies. I really do hope this has inspired you to make your own terrain. My social medias will be in the description below, as well as my Patreon if you want to support me. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.